Yeah, no pressure, yeah. All we do is dress and rest, yeah. Shit, we on it. Fresh dressed, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. Fresh dressed, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. We keep it rockin'. These chicks be flocking my coupe. We keep it rockin'. Fresh eggs outside of my stoop. We keep it rockin'. They love to give us some play. We keep it rockin'. Homeboy, we got him.
Hit the club, roll with me, we gon' hit the club. I'm back now, my Mac down, on black like my background. From the back door to the VIP, no charge, I'm VIP. Jesse James don't need ID, reppin' FAM9D. Now go hop in the truck though, baby girl gon' move on your butt though. And you know I'm still rollin' with the thugs though, so holla if you need, cause I'm cutthroat. All about the paper, see you later, cause I don't wanna date her. Nah, that's not my flavor, and I'm high as a T.O. skyscraper. You know, hop in the Bentley or Rolls Royce, you know, hop in the whip with a couple bad chicks, you know, and I'll be lit all day, all night, you know, that's how we roll.
Fresh dressed, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. Fresh dressed, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars.
German whips, fancy cars, they play the game, but they know who the champions are. Every time we pull up, it's like a damn bazaar. They scream our name, try to get us on the camera.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Cbb Super Show. I am your host, Walter Riddell, aka Dfs85, back with another CBB breakdown with my co-host and partner in crime, Pete Cole. Pete, playing the wrong NHL guy. Pete, how are you this morning, Pete?
I just looked at the screen, looked like I was praying here on Sunday morning. I didn't realize I was doing this. I'm doing. This is what, and maybe that's what I need because I've had a tough weekend. Actually, making some stupid mistakes on more than one sport. But this is why we call it DFS, right? We have another day, so we can wipe off the slate. Sorry, but it's a big slate today. I like it. So let's just make some money today. Let's just move on and make some money. And I like the slate. I like the slate better than yesterday, actually. The more I'm going through it as we're talking here.
It's back to a smaller, mid-sized slate, which is what I know you like and a lot of other people. So we're down to the 8 gamers now. No more 16 gamers for the psychopaths like myself. If you do have anything, question-wise, comments, concerns on the right hand of your screen there in the YouTube chat, you can post those. We will read those throughout the show. Otherwise, if it's a game we've already covered, we'll get to it at the end. Prize picks at the end as well for you prize picks grinders. I know the main featured prize picks went one for 3, but we had 2 late night ones that went 2 for 2 and got you guys your money back and then some. So stick with us. We're still making y'all money. Yeah,
I didn't realize you had a late one.
Yeah, I posted them in the prize picks room. I mean, it's just something to get, to kind of rectify the situation, and it worked out. So
we were close, though. It wasn't like we got blown out. So, I mean, every day.
Yeah.
It's been.
Sure. Our guy Jacori, he had a 13.77, which was a nice stat line. I should have just went to his fantasy points, but I thought for sure he would hit his scoring prop because he's the main scorer. And he had 7 right away. In the first 5 minutes, he scored 7 real points, but. I digress. And we were so close to having our Gauchos versus Bobcats second round matchup that I was hoping for so very much. Didn't work out. They unfortunately just lost. Creighton, I think it's, everyone can agree now that didn't agree with me before. Creighton's very susceptible to being knocked out. I don't think they're going to have an answer for Jason Preston. Ohio did beat Virginia. A lot of us thought they would. Jason Preston went completely berserk, bananas, if you will. You got to play him. I don't care what his price is tomorrow. We're going to be on him. So lots of cool upsets. And Abilene, the public thought Abilene Christian would do it. It was an ugly game. Texas was red hot coming in. I thought Texas would win. And Abilene Christian, I thought they would cover, which they did if you guys tailed that. But Texas is out. Abilene Christian is in. Ugly game out of Abilene Christian. They're terrible for DFS, but they're cheap. So let's get right into this slate of games here. We've still got Oral Roberts on the slate against Florida. It's going to probably be the best game in my eyes. But first game we're going to talk about here is Loyola, Illinois, Chicago versus Illinois. This is a really kind of a cool matchup, actually. It's early morning, no other games on, so everybody will be watching this one. Focus on Camera Krutwig here. A lot of people are myself included, excited for this matchup between Krutwig and Coburn. Ken Palm is at 69-65 in favor of Illinois. Close game expected. They're 80th in tempo ranking. Loyola 343. Right now on FanDuel, it's +7 for Loyola. So if you guys are looking to get some bets here, I think the point line for Loyola is a very strong bet. I don't foresee Illinois blowing them out. The guard play for Loyola has been very spotty throughout the season, but recently they've gotten some really good production from Braden Norris and Keith Clemens, especially in their last game. Braden Norris, the Oakland transfer, I want to bring him up first before the bigs. 5'8", fantastic GPP play. 30-plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games. Pretty scorching right now. I think he's worth a heat check in tournament lineups, definitely. There's nothing particularly impressive about his season-long rates. They're all pretty ordinary. But a guy that's gotten hot here in the their conference tournament into the first round against Georgia Tech, he was blazing. His usage has actually been up in the 28% range the last 4 games. So definitely think that you should be looking at that as opposed to a season-long. He's got the 9th best three-point percentage from 2 years ago while he was at Oakland. So that shows you he is one of the best three-point shooters in the country. Right now he's shooting 40% on 103 attempts, which is solid. But in the tournament, he can definitely get hot and hit 3, 4, 5 early on, kind of like Corey Kispert yesterday. I'm not suggesting he's as good as Kispert, but he is streaky and can shoot just like him at period of time. So I think Braden Norris is kind of one of those guys. You get him at 2-3% in GPPs. Wouldn't be surprised to see him land on the optimal, depending on how this one breaks. Keith Clemens is only 4.3K. He's got 18-plus fantasy points in 3 straight games. He's shooting 46% from beyond the arc on 82 attempts. That's a 22nd best rate in the country. So that's another guy that can get hot. So if Illinois plans to, try to double Krutwig, they've got the shooters. Luckily for them, they have Kofi Coburn, so there's probably no need to double either. I think they'll just let both those guys play each other straight up, and it'll just be a matter of who gets who into foul trouble. So I do like the guards on the Rambler side. Krutwig's only 7'4". A couple people this morning already talking about that price is appealing. I definitely think so. I'm a Krutwig fan. I've used him before. I don't know if I'm going to use him today because I'm very hyper focused on Oral Roberts. We were last Slate. I'm doing it again. But if I want to spread my exposure out to other games, I think Krutwig is fine. The battle of Kofi Krutwig. He does have a 30% usage rate, 30% shot rate. His assist rate's over 25%, combined rebounding rate over 30%, almost a 5% block rate, steal rate 2.5%. So he is, top 300 in pretty much every efficiency category that you can possibly think of. He's drawing almost 5 fouls per 40. So, I think the game plan here would be to try to bait, Kofi into 2 quick ones, get him out of there, and then let, Krutwig work. He had a pretty, pedestrian/bad game for him against the Jackets, which was surprising. Without Moses, I thought he was going to tear it up, and he really didn't. And it was the guards they relied on. And I think that's because the Jackets did, I saw parts of the game and highlights, they were trying to double him. So I think one-on-one, he'll be fine, and they don't want to let the guards go off. Kofi's only 8'2". That's a good price. Anytime Kofi's in that low 8K range, this is really his sweet spot. 32, 35 fantasy points. So for cash games, he's totally fine. What makes me think Kofi will end up being the one that does win this matchup, he's drawing 7.5 fouls per 40, which is the 5th best rate in the country as opposed to the 5 for Krutwig. Krutwig is a very intelligent, good footwork, smart guy. So he's not going to pick up stupid fouls necessarily. But if Kofi, starts wiling out down there and posting up and, start backing him down aggressively, I could see him getting Krutwig into some trouble here. And you may see, guys like, Io or Curbelo take it right down to the rim and try to, get him in foul trouble too. Because once Krutwig does get in foul trouble, if it happens, I think they'll run away with it. So that is important if you plan on betting this game and how you think the game flow is going to go. Kofi's offensive rebounding rate is 15.9%, which is 11th best in the country. We know he's a monster there. His defensive rebounding rate is 24%, which is 73rd. Usage and shot rates hover around 28%. So he also could have a monster game. I think, GPP-wise, if you're running multiples, get one with Krutwig, one with Kofi. That way, when the inevitable foul trouble does happen for one of them, you're covered. It would be a disaster if they both got in foul trouble, which definitely could happen. I guess it depends on who's going to ref this game. But those are the 2, guys that you really would be looking at for your main lineup. Not together, but one or the other. Curbelo's nice at 6'4". I do like that price for him still. 26.5% usage rate. You guys know, he's drawing 4.4 fouls per 40, 33.5% assist rate. He's very solid. And then I always have to mention the Illinois secondary players. the DeMonte Williams, Adam Miller, Jacob Grandison, those players, because no one ever rosters them. They make sense as good, salary savers, especially DeMonte Williams. He's a guy that I don't mind running in my main lineup when he's under 5K. He does see crunch time minutes. He's a guy that the coaches can rely on. He does enough on the glass, steals. He can hit threes. So I do like him the best out of those three. But Adam Miller has the most upside just because he's the better offensive player. But we know Miller's still pretty raw. I think sometimes he's afraid to make mistakes. So I do feel like on this tournament stage, he won't be stepping up. It'd be more like somebody Don Monte Williams. But there is better value here. That's why I listed them as GPP plays in the article. But if you're running multiple and you want to cycle through values, definitely don't mind those guys. So what's your thought process here on this one? It's going to be a fun game. Like I said, it's got its own time slot, so we'll be able to focus completely on this one to start with.
Yeah, we kind of brought Williams up a few weeks ago, remember? And
yeah,
he hasn't let us down since. It's just weird because it was a year ago they would just leave him open and he couldn't make a basket. And now he's crazy. And it's great because with Kofi AO Corbella getting so much attention, he gets all these quality looks from distance and he's making everybody pay for it. So he's still a GBP play, I think. DeMonte, I would use him. I'm 100% in on Krutwig today. I'm pretty much, I think I'm putting all my eggs in my basket with him. I just think this is Krutwig's day. He's going to do it or he isn't. I think he's that good of a player. And we brought it up before, but it just, to me, you mentioned it again, but it just shows how good of a player he is. I know he's been around for a few years, but there's only 4 people in the history of college that have had 1,500 points, 800 rebounds, and 300 assists. And that's Bird, Oscar Robertson, Hersey Hawkins, and our man Krutwig. So he's a veteran. He's been there.
Hersey Hawkins, yeah, Sonic's name. I remember.
You put those four names, Hawkins, Bird, and Oscar Robinson. You put your name in the category like that. I mean, he's been there, and he's been there.
Yeah,
he's been there with that big team back in 2018, and him and Lucas Williamson, I think, has kind of been played too, just because they're veterans. They've been there before. It's a big game for them. This is probably Krutwig's biggest game of his career now, right? And I don't think he's got a battle with Kofi, and Kofi's bigger, and that's my biggest concern. But I just think here's a guy that's shooting 60%, 58%. I'm in on him today. And as of right now, he's in my main lineup, so it may burn me, but I'm a Krutwig guy. Once I seen that price drop, that was a huge price drop. I was kind of glad he didn't do that well against Tech. It allowed us to get to him, because I wasn't going to pay another 8.6 or 8.7, whatever he was for him. But at 7.4, he's in play. So that's my main play. Williamson, I think, is in there too, just because of the experience factor, and he's good. I like the Clemens call. I'm not going to play in those guys in my main, but I could go with Clemens or Williamson if I had a gun in my head and I had to. But I just like the way Williamson plays defense though too. So I'm on Krutwig. I'm not playing any Illinois guys in my main, and that's it. Krutwig day.
I like that call. I think he'll be semi-popular because of his price tag. So, but not, you'll still have under probably 25% on him.
Yeah.
And like I said, if they can work to get Kofi out of there early, he would have a big game in store. So I definitely have no issues with that call. Next game, Wisconsin versus Baylor. Ken Palm has it 73-68 in favor of Baylor. They're 155 tempo ranking, Wisconsin 328. Wisconsin had a hell of a game versus North Carolina. North Carolina's guards obviously much weaker than Baylor. What I was impressed about was the way that Wisconsin was able to contain the better front court of the Heels and really just shut that team down completely. Where Wisconsin may run into trouble today is Baylor's got, the best trio of guards in the country. I think everyone can agree with that. So Wisconsin, they're happy to kind of funnel out to the, to guards on production. And that might be a mistake today. So they're going to have to kind of change their philosophy. We're going to see a big game from Jared Butler, I feel. And if Wisconsin, sells out to stop him, then they've got Mitchell and Teague as well. So I do see Baylor winning this game. But if if Davison shoots 1,000,000% again, then, they'll be right in the mix here. But they also don't want to get into a 3-point shootout with the Baylor Bears. First play here, I think Dimitri Trice at 6'7" is still a solid play. Anytime he's under 7K, he's hovering around that 30 fantasy point mark pretty much every game. His price didn't budge. He did have 32.5 fantasy points on a 21.53 stat line, so I definitely like him if I was to play a Badger player. Solid rates, 23.5% usage rate, 23% shot rate, 25% assist rate. And then Micah Potter, 6'3". If Potter's going to, that we're finally to the point with Potter where I think we can use him comfortably. Still kind of a GPP play here at 6'3", but, he's going to play upwards of 26, 27, maybe even 30 minutes with his rates, 28% shot and usage rate. He can do some big things there. And he is a 38% shooter on 98 triples, so he can bring them out. Vital were to guard him or something, he could give him a lot of problems. You still have our guy John Davis down there at 4.42, another kind of, he falls in that Illinois value category. Davis's year will come next year, and we've been using him a lot. I think there's better values for him than him, I should say, but he is still hovering around the mid-20, per minute. So at 4.4, he can definitely pay that off, especially if the defensive attention is not on him. Vital 5.2. It's a good spot to go back to. He was in foul trouble. He fouled out in 11 minutes last game, so people probably won't be looking to him. This is a nice buy low spot for him, though. He's typically going to play around 30 minutes. Has an offensive rebounding rate over 14%. His combined rebounding rate's 33%. Stout defender. He's got almost a 5% block rate, 3% steal rate. He does have double-double potential here. It's just not a play that, I'm super comfortable making in like my 44 or 2. If I'm running in these big, high dollar stuff, I'm probably not running Vital, but I certainly would like some, exposure to him at that 5.2 because that really is too cheap for him on a normal basis. And then, Jared Butler, 8.7, Mitchell 7.6, Teague 7K. Any of those guys make sense for GBP. I think they're all potentially going to, one of those guys will probably land on the optimal. I don't know that I will use them necessarily, but they're very high level players. Baylor has, got to shut up the doubters here. There's a few people that think, some of the talking media that thinks they're going to, bow out early. This would be a good statement game for them. So they looked great last game. Obviously, I know it was Hartford, but in a blowout, most of, Butler's out there posting 40s in a blowout. That's impressive. Now, a potentially close game, I think he could post another 40, 50-point game. But with that being said, I am prioritizing still the Oral Roberts guys over him. So what do you think here, man? Interesting game.
It is, and it hit me, and I was just looking it up quick, and I was right. I'm an old man, so but I do remember this. This is when Trice's father, because as I saw a headline as you were talking, this is the first time Trice has played in Hinkle Fieldhouse. And I'm going back in my mind. I'm like, I remember his father having a game at Purdue, a big game against Indiana, back in was it 93 or something like that? And I was right. And it was a game Bobby Knight went nuts, and his father had 7 3-pointers. First time his father had played at Hinkle Fieldhouse. So I'm saying to myself, wow, this could be, maybe there's something to this, because I like Trice today. I think Trice is a great, at 6'7", I think he's a great play. So especially this is like a kind of a cool narrative. So. And he did. He had 24 points, and they won by 4 over number 11 Indiana, 1993. So maybe Trice's first game can be the same. I like Trice a lot at 6'7". Jonathan Davis. Did you see that Davis the other day, man, when he blasted that dunk and then ran down the court and blocked Garrison Brooks, who was 4 inches taller than him?
Yeah, he's nuts.
This kid's going to be a good player next year. I think he's going to play today kind of too at 4-4. I wouldn't play both of them, but I would like to get Trice in my main lineup. So for some reason, I just got a feeling on him. He's the only one I really like for this game. I think Mike Vitale is in a decent spot, but I don't know. I've been on Trice train for a while here. So if I'm making 2 lineups, he's in one of them, definitely. And Jonathan Davis. I think Davis is in a good spot at 4-4, but I think we're going to find some other value that we probably don't have to go to Davis. I was looking up, and you're right about Potter's got some. You look at his overall stats. Man, if we knew that he was going to guarantee these minutes, his usage is almost up to 30% now. So, GBP though, I guess. So I'm all over Trice today. If I can get Trice and Crutlow in my main lineup, I just don't know I can, because obviously I like everybody today, but Trice is my play.
All right. Syracuse versus West Virginia. We thought that Syracuse would beat San Diego State. That was kind of a bad matchup for SDSU. That proved to be the case. They couldn't shoot. They didn't have a guy to run the high post very effectively. Mensa didn't do a good job. So here we are with Syracuse as a high, an 11 seed and potentially Sweet 16 bound. I really am hoping that Syracuse does pull it off and Houston takes care of business, because I am just willing to pay 10K for Quentin Grimes against that Syracuse zone. Like that's the matchup I really want for DFS purposes. So I will be rooting for your orange today. Ken Palm has a 78-76 in favor of West Virginia, 124 tempo, ranking Syracuse 148. The thing with Syracuse is this: while I'll be rooting for them to win, I still am standing by my no play Syracuse on a slate bigger than 3 games, philosophy. And maybe that hurts me. It rarely doesn't, or I'm saying it really rarely does. But you look at these prices for some of these guys, and people are going to get sucked in. Alan Griffin at 6'1", Quincy Gary are at 6'6". But you need to dig a little deeper and find out why they're these prices. Griffin is in the doghouse fully. They're playing Braswell. They're playing Edwards. They've benched Griffin. He's still starting, but Griffin makes a dodo error. I mean, he can't even breathe the wrong way, and Boeheim is instantly yanking him. I think he sat the entire second half last game. So 6'1's a nice price. You got a bunch of lineups you're running, sure, go ahead and get some Alan Griffin. But you're more of a psycho than me if you think you're going to run him in your main lineup at 6'1 and get a 40. And if it happens today, cool. But there is really a very slim chance of that happening because of his minutes. And even Guerrier has failed to, play over 30 minutes here in the last couple. So I did think that the projections would pop on both, but I think that, that was on the raw. When you adjust what the minutes will be, I think both are really just kind of not in play. So I'm staying away from them. I think Braswell and Edwards are kind of sneakier GPP plays, but I just don't play Syracuse. The way they get benched, it's just it's still too big of a slate for me to be dealing with them. So you may differ, but I'm not going there. I did get a question already this morning about playing Buddy Boeheim for cheaper than my man Max Asmus from Oral Roberts. What are we talking about here, man? Because Asmus and Boeheim, Boeheim's almost 8K, and yes, he is hot as balls right now. Scored 30 plus fantasy points in 6 of his last 8 games, and he could be red hot again. He's making 50% or more of his threes in 3 straight games. Red hot. He's taking a ton of threes. He's the coach's son, so he's able to just do whatever he wants. So yeah, you could take the discount off Asmus, but I mean, if you say that out loud, yes, I'm going to take a discount playing Buddy Boeheim over Max Asmus. I have to go take a shower afterwards, to be honest, because it just sounds dirty. If I go to Boeheim now at 8K after fading him and he puts up, a 20 because he shoots 3 for 25, I will absolutely be sick to my stomach and jumping off my balcony because I can't. I mean, I know personally I'm not fading Asmus. I don't care. I know he's expensive, but I'm not going to do that. So it does make sense. I think for tournaments, yes, heat check Boeheim, but it's one of those, and you guys know I say this a lot on certain players, Tate and everything. With guys who keep burning you. Petty, I know you were back on Petty yesterday and he did okay. It's like if you're committed to a guy and you've been playing him this whole time, by all means stay on him. But if you have been fading Boeheim, when he was at 6K, 6.5, 7K, and now he's 8K basically, and now you're going to jump to it, I think it's better to just stay away. Getting to the party late, it's kind of like a stock market. We're paying the ultimate premium price for Buddy Boeheim, and I think that is going to be a mistake. As far as the rest of Syracuse, you can sell us on any of them. West Virginia, Deuce McBride, he was the only guy that was immune to the doghouse himself for Coach Huggins. Then right near the end of the season, he did get in the doghouse. He had like 3 to 4 games where he was under 30, kind of wrote him off. His last 2 games though, he's been a stone cold killer against Morehead State. And Morehead pushed West Virginia. A lot of people thought I was crazy for saying they would. Joni Broom had a nice game against them. McBride, when Culver was struggling that first half, McBride was acing them. He put up 54 fantasy points, playing with a lot of confidence right now. 8.4 is a bit high for me, but against this zone here, he could easily be hitting the mid-range jumper, which he likes to do, easily hitting threes. McBride could have a very solid game here against that zone. He's shooting 41% on 106 triples. His assist rate's approaching 30% now, 24.5% shot rate. There's just a lot to like about Miles McBride right now. And then Taz Sherman has also become cheaper. He's only 5'3" now. I think, he had kind of a bad game. Sean McNeil's there at 4'9". Both of those guys could definitely shoot down this zone. Sherman's about a 37% three-point shooter. McNeil about a 38%. They'll both chuck when they have an open look. So I think either one of these guys could make value if you want a piece of West Virginia but not want to pay a premium. I think Sherman or McNeil are fine. I'm typically not a proponent of using McNeil, but I've kind of come around to him now. I do like the fact that Sherman's usage rate's over 25% and his shot rate's over 27%. Compared to McNeil's 22% shot rate. So if you have the extra 400 for Sherman, I would definitely go there. And then, Culver at almost 8K. Bigs have as well as I do, Bigs have just diced and sliced and hammed all over Syracuse. So if ever there was going to be a Culver game, this would be it right here. But again, do I want to invest almost 8K into Culver when I've got my man, Kevin Obenar for 200 more, and I'm all about this Oral Roberts train? Probably not, because Culver has a much better chance of being yanked than Obanor does. So that's where I'm at with this game. I like the plays here, but none of them are on my priority list.
I like too many of them. That's my problem. And here's the problem with Buddy. And if I'm not going to play Buddy in my main, nobody should, because he's a GPP play. And I love the kid. I like the way he shoots. But even when he has his biggest game, he's capped at 40 DK points. You're not going to get no more than 40, even if he just explodes, because you're not going to get those peripherals out of him. I mean, he could hit a shitload of threes, but I mean, I'm definitely playing Buddy. I'm playing. I'm not going to walk away from him today. This could be his last game, and he's probably as hot as anybody in the nation. But yeah, he could. And he hasn't gone below like 30 DK like a month, so he's gonna have a good game. But he's a GVP play. So if anybody plays him in cash, you really don't. You're not a cash player. I mean, and if I'm not going to play him, then but he's gonna be in my second lineup. Guerrier is the only other player that on the Syracuse end I would touch. I mean, he has improved a lot, especially his biggest problem. I think Guerrier was getting used to that Syracuse zone, man. Because he played on the Canadian national team on man-to-man. His off-ball defense needed some work, and now he's finally starting to come around. If you take away the San Diego State game, he's been strong. But these are all GPP plays, I think. But if I'm playing GPP lineups, I'm going to get a bunch of them in. On the other side, McBride's a great play today, definitely. We saw what he did the other night. When he steps up when they need it, at least you can trust him. I see Culver having a good game today. I mean, he's so overdue. I think, how many games has it been since he's actually hit like four times value? 5 games, 6 games. So he's due. This is the type of game with Syracuse that he should be able to bang around Syracuse. But Culver's GBP play, we all know that. The day we all fall in love with him is the day he's just going to shit the bed on us. And I agree with you. I think I'm starting to kind of sweeten on McNeil myself. As long as he's starting at 4-9, he had a really good game. The last game, he had 13 points, a couple rebounds, a couple assists, 32 minutes. So as long as he is back in that starting lineup, I think McNeil's a great place at 4-9. I can see McNeil being. I have no problem putting him in my main lineup as long as he's starting. So even though I like so many players here, you're taking chances having them in your main lineup. And if I'm not playing Buddy, nobody should be playing him in your main lineup.
That's when we tweet out the link to the show for On Demand, I think that needs to be the caption. If I'm not playing Buddy in my cash lineup, then nobody should, and I think that's a good idea.
And he could
continue his hot streak, but
I think he's gonna. But
you're relying on him to continue shooting 50% because he's not going to give you a lot of other categories, right? So that's just, it's tough, man, especially at that price.
He's gonna get you 2 rebounds and 2 assists, pretty much. That's what he's gonna get you every day.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's just too high. It's just too high of a price. All right, next game. This is an interesting one here. Texas Tech versus Arkansas. We saw Arkansas get pushed in the first half by Colgate, and then Justin Smith just erupted for a slate-breaking performance, and they whacked him. And Texas Tech, they had a nice win over Utah State. They were never in risk. They let Queta. They had a good game plan. They let Queta go ham, but they proved to the world that Utah State just didn't have any guard play, and they beat them there. And Mac McClung actually had a good game for once. Not going to recommend him, but good to see him play well. Ken Palm has it 71-70 in favor of Arkansas, 17 tempo ranking versus 318 tempo ranking of Texas Tech. So a clash of styles here. Texas Tech certainly will want to slow this game down, force Arkansas into the half court, where they can, allow their superior defense to reign supreme. Arkansas is going to want to push off every missed shot and not have to not let Texas Tech set up their defense. I do think McCullough is our guy. It's a great time to go back to Kevin McCullough at 6'5". That's a really cheap price. I'm messing around with my 3-man core, the third spot. I'm very high, like I said, on Oral Roberts. We'll get to them in a second. But McCullough keeps going in and out of my 3-man featured. I'm still trying to decide. But right now, I think he's got to be in there or in consideration. His usage and shot rates are just around 19-20%, so nothing to write home about. But his ability to rack up peripheral type stats is really valuable, for fantasy purposes, because if he only scores 7 real points, he can still get you 30 because he blocks, especially steals, rebounds, assists, all that good stuff. 18.5% defensive rebounding rate, almost a 4% block rate. His steal rate's about 3.5%. He had a couple games earlier this year with like 4, 5, 6 steals. So obviously we can't bank on that every time, but Arkansas, with the way they play, fast paced, there's going to be opportunities for him to force some turnovers. So very nice spot to roll McCullough. I wouldn't want to go over to, McClung after his last game, but I definitely am a McCullough guy here. Terrence Shannon burned some people last game. I know that. Still, if he starts, he's got a 25% shot rate. Look for a potential bounce back for him. This would be a very good matchup for him to do it. GPP only, though. And then MSS, Marco Santasilva at 5'3". I'm still on that train of big men, against Arkansas. Keegan Records the other day for Colgate started out really strong. They went to him and he started dominating them early. And then they went away from him, and things got out of hand. They allowed it to be pushed the pace, and Burns was missing shots, and they stopped going to Records, and they panicked. If they would have not panicked and kept going to him, I think he would have had an even bigger game. But that first 10 minutes, Records had 2 buckets, 4 rebounds, a block. It looked like he was on his way to a big day, and it just didn't happen in the second half. So I do think MSS could have a big game at 5'3". I think he's just a GPP play because of his foul risk. Does have a 15% offensive rebounding rate, combined rate of 33%. It wouldn't surprise me to see him, kind of rechannel his VCU performances from past years, when he's putting up big double-doubles. I do think that's a possibility. For Arkansas, I think Devontae Davis is, I typically don't like to target Texas Tech. This year they've been a little more targetable, but it's the tournament now. I think Beard's, excellent scout, excellent, coach for defense. So I am hesitant to use anyone from Arkansas here. But Devontae Davis at 6'2" is probably my favorite play. 29 plus fantasy points, 3 of his last 4. He is ascending into a very special player. He's still fresh, so he could get rattled here. I don't think we'll ever see him under 7K next year, depending on how this Arkansas transfer, bonanza happens in the offseason as usual with Coach Muss. But he does have a usage rate over 19%, steal rate of 3%. So I think he's very steady. He's going to play 30 minutes or more. You look at Moses Moody, let down the industry last time. He's 7'8". I think people will go back to him. Moody is really, he's almost got to be taken out of the cash conversation now, because he's become boomer bust. He used to be an auto 30. Now it's like, yeah, you can get your 50 from him sometimes, but if he gets rattled early and just, out of the game plan, he's not even going to hit 20. So even at 7'8", which is an appealing price, his lows are just way too low for me to really trust. And then Justin Smith, very high on Justin Smith. I ended up swapping him to Chandler Valdron before that game, trying to get cute. And of course, it was a mistake. Cost myself 30 points. Still a good first day, but what I could have done with those extra 30 points from Valdron to Smith. Now he's 8'6". That's going to be tough to pay against Texas Tech. I will not rule out another 35 though, because he has just been crushing with 30s. I think he's only been under 30 once, maybe twice since January at this point. So he's a rock solid player. 10.6% offensive rebounding rate, usage rate over 21%. During this streak, it's been much higher. So he is a nice luxury to have because he's playing so well. He's a veteran. There's a lot to like about Justin Smith. He's playing way better than I ever imagined he would. And then, Jalen Tate did well last slate. He's only 6K. He'll probably bring some people over to him, but he's very high variance. I think him and JD Note are both in play, but you would have to be a madman to use either of them in your main lineup, just because their floors, I put in the article, their floors are like 6 feet under the ground below the floor. So I don't know. I really would just be on McCullough and maybe Devontae Davis here. But maybe I need a fresh set of eyes from you to tell me who else is in play here.
I do see if you're playing FanDuel, I would be playing Justin Smith. He's 7.5 on FanDuel.
Yeah,
so
makes a lot of sense.
It's pretty cheap over there. I think you need first of all, you need somebody from Tech in your main lineup. I think it's McCullough or MSS. I'm leaning MSS because of price. But you're right. If he gets he's a very good chance of getting in foul trouble. But he's been there before. I like the experience. It's probably the biggest chance I'm going to take in my cash lineup. Now McCullough is the play, but with all these other guys in the 7 range, do you have enough money for them? That's my question. But they're both great plays. I think McCullough is a better play, but I'm probably going to end up with MSS. I want one of them. And McClung to me is always going to be a buddy play. I mean, he could go crazy, but he actually did have a decent game the other day. 5 8 actually 5 8's pretty cheap for McClung, isn't it? But I don't know, he's still
Don't
high
fall for it.
usage. Yeah, he's still a GBP. Yeah, you can't take a chance
Yeah.
on him. I know I'll play him, and but you make a bunch of lineups, definitely play him because he could
Yep.
he could go crazy. Arkansas, honestly, I'm not touching. If I was going to play him, I would end up playing Moody just because you know what he could do. But none of these guys, I can't play any of these guys today. One of them's going to have going off, but for cash, you can't take that chance. I'm not messing with Jalen Tate again. And I would play Moody, but I'm not playing 7-8 for Moody when he could give us another 12 DK points. And you're exactly right. Things started off not well for him, and things going to go down really quick. He's still a kid. He's still young. So I'm on Tech. I think you play McCullough, MSS in your main lineup, and you move on. You just don't get crazy with this game. I think people are going to get Arkansas is going to get people going to start messing around with them, and they're going to get hurt.
Yeah. I really would like Moody and Justin Smith to go ham today because that Sirius XM league, I have both of them. So I need Arkansas to win and for those guys to have nice games so I can beat all those dudes. But yeah, as far as DFS purposes, the prices are too high. The matchup is really tough, and there's just a lot of volatility with using any of them. Even Devontae Davis, who I do think is playable in cash, there's still some volatility there too. All right, next game, Rutgers versus Houston. Ken Palm has it 70-62 in favor of Houston. I think they're going to win by more. The 321 tempo ranking, Rutgers 212. I'm just a big Houston fan right now. Miles Johnson's questionable with an ankle injury. It sounds like he may try to play, but those ankle injuries, man, those are tricky. Trying to play on those, dealing with a tough team like Houston. So Johnson's a nice price, but I just don't think you can mess with a guy playing Houston and an ankle injury to boot. Houston's got injuries of their own. DeJon Jaros, he was questionable when I submitted the article last night with a severe hip pointer. Now he's been upgraded to a game time decision. He's posted on his social media sites that he's going to play. Players always say that. And then Coach Sampson during presser said that he will give it a go. But right now the official designation for Giroux is game time decision. Telling you this not because we're going to use Giroux, because again that's going to be tough paying his price with an injury. But for me, Tremont Mark is firmly in main team consideration. I know and Marcus Sasser as well. I know you'll talk about Sasser here in a second. But Marcus, I've been a big fan of these freshmen for Houston. They've got a fantastic team. When Grimes and company leave, they're going to be just fine. Mark, if he plays like 30-ish minutes today, will absolutely obliterate the 4-7 price. He's the heir apparent to the throne that Grimes will leave behind. I think if Giroux's limited / out and Mark steps into that starting role, he's going to be playing some big minutes. Usage rate 22.8%, shot rate 22.8%. But without Giroux, he was hovering over 25% usage. His steals rate almost 3%. He's drawing almost 5 fouls per 40. Gets himself to the line. I don't think many people will use Mark just because they'll look at his season-long rates, and maybe if they're looking at logs and stuff. But don't sleep here on this potential spot for Mark, even against a Rutgers team that plays slow as well and has an adequate defense and makes game ugly, because Mark could end up having 3 steals, knock down a couple triples, a few assists here. If he gets 5 rebounds, something like that, he's going to pay off this 4-7 price. And you look at his last couple of games, he's been over 20 fantasy points with the bigger minutes. And one of those was with Giroux. Obviously, it was a blowout, but I don't know. I have this really strong Pete-esque feeling about Tremont Mark today. Quentin Grimes 8-9. If Giroux was out, you could pay that price. I think he's going to absolutely destroy here if it comes down to it. If Giroux plays, then you can back off. Like I said, and I wrote it up under the Grimes paragraph, but if Syracuse versus Houston, Sweet 16 matchup looming, I'm going to be all over the Houston guys against your Orange if that happens. I think they'll take care of business here against Rutgers. Grimes top 10 player on the Ken Palm Player of the Year rankings. People forget about that. Usage rate over 25%, shot rate over 29%. He's a 41% shooter, 209 triple attempts. And then Sasser, 6'1". If Giroux is out, Sasser, your guy there, he's taken almost 200 3-pointers in 25 games. He's got a shot rate hovering around 25%. Volume shooter, but without Giroux, he's going to have full reign of the minutes, take lots of shots. If Rutgers can keep it close, look for him to play big minutes. On the Rutgers side, the only play I would really consider myself would be Jacob Young. I haven't really used Jacob Young much this season. The last couple games, though, I've actually been putting him in the player pool, considering using him. I was damn close to using him against Clemson because of his price. I backed off, thankfully. But he's back in play here at 5'6". Brutal matchup against Houston, of course, but he's going to take a ton of shots. He has the highest usage rate on the team at 27%, second highest shot rate at 26.1%. The next, the highest is 26.2, so basically the highest. He's very efficient in other categories, 23.4% assist rate, 3.5% steal rate. He's a 37% shooter from behind the arc. So I do think Jacob Young makes sense here for all formats, definitely for GPP because it's a very cheap price for him. If Giroux is out, I like it a lot more because Giroux obviously is, they're a great defense as well in general. Giroux is one of their best individual on-ball defenders. But yeah, he's definitely in play. So Houston games, typically people stay away from them. Rutgers games have been a nightmare all season long. We've all gone through the Harpers and Miles Johnsons and all Geo Bakers, but there's definitely some options here, Pete. What do you think?
So if Giroux plays, are you still playing Trayvon Mark? Is that you said you were still playing him? I misunderstood you. If Giroux is out, then Trayvon Mark to me becomes almost a core play.
Yes, Mark is a core play if Giroux's out. If he comes back, then obviously it's a downgrade. What I was mentioning is that he still had a good game with Giroux last time, but it was a blowout. I think off the bench, he's typically going to play that 18 to 20 minute mark anyways. It just really all depends on what you think of Giroux. That hit pointer, if he plays, he could just be a decoy. And it's going to be tough because he's almost 5K. So he's borderline. I still haven't fully decided yet what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to actually make that decision when we get to it, with the status of Giroux. Right now I have him in. Yes, I'm a big fan of his. But if Giroux plays and starts, then yeah, I'll probably have to rethink things. So right now I would lean no. If Giroux plays, maybe we have to back off. But I don't know. I just, like I said, I have that Pete-esque feeling that even if Giroux plays, he's going to have a good game. I can't shake it. I've tried to, but I just feel strongly about this play.
No, and I agree. You got 4 games to deal with too, then to find that value, the 4-7 if you decide to. So yeah, Mark's in play. I really like Jacob Young today too, and I'm bringing back another narrative. But actually, Jacob Young's the only player on this whole Rutgers team that's actually been to the tournament. He went to with Texas when they got beat by Nevada in overtime. But I'm assuming most people know, but this is the first, Jacob Young now is playing. Remember, his father was part of that Phi Slamma Jamma for Houston, and
his brother was Oregon great Joe Young too, mighty Joe Young. Big lineage there.
Exactly. Now he's playing against his father's old. That's a famous college basketball team. Now he's going against his father's alma mater. So I guess that just a narrative there. I can see Young having, and I already see Young having a good game at 5'6". So Young is firmly in play. I think I think we could definitely get 25 DK out of him. Sasser has become Sasser, where I think Sasser is always going to get you pretty much 4 times. Beside that Memphis game when he shit the bed, but beside that in the last month or so, he's going to get you 25 DK points pretty much, 23, 25. So is that enough today? I mean, I'll take anybody's going to give me 4 times in a cash play. I still haven't gone over anybody, but Sasser to me is in play for cash. But that is it. Miles Johnson, I can't mess with because there's some injury questions. But yeah, it's Mark and Young and Sasser for me. That's it. Because once again, they're playing Houston, but don't sleep on Jacob Young today. I like that price too. He's become a good part of that team.
The young family, man. They like I said, they got that basketball lineage. Remember Joe Young, man, when he was at Oregon, he was a part of that really good Oregon team. He was balling out. So
imagine a kid and your father's part of Phi Slamma Jamma with Hakeem and those guys. It's crazy.
That's nuts, yeah. And then your brother goes on to play, in the big Oregon program, NBA. Yeah. I think he's over in China now. He's like, he's in the Chinese league where he averages like 60
playing overseas,
yeah. And so Jacob, he's got to show out here.
Yep.
This is big time. Rutgers. What has it been like 30 something years since they won a tournament game? So, big game here. I think Houston will ultimately win. That's why Giroux's probably going to give it a go. But I'm there with you. Sasser, Mark, and Young. Some form there. I like. Okay, next game here, and this is the one I'm going to be targeting heavily. Oral Roberts versus Florida. We were all over Oral Roberts last slate. Everybody had Asmus because of his price. O'Banner was a little more hit or miss. At over half the field faded. 6.5 was just way too cheap. He's still too cheap at 8.1. So I'm back on the Oral Roberts train. Ken Palm actually has an 81.71 for Florida. They're 174th tempo ranking. Oral Roberts 46. When you look at the spread, it's plus 8.5 for Oral Roberts right now. The total is 148. Syracuse total is 147.5. So those are real close together. But I would much rather target this Oral Roberts because Oral Roberts' defense is non-existent. Florida's defense is fairly non-existent. We know we've been targeting against them. So there's going to be a lot of points here. Starting on the Oral Roberts side, O'Banner, core play all the way, 8.1. He should be higher. Last time, they were on the slate a couple days ago, we did the show. We spelled it out for you. O'Banner's crushed tier 1 competition. He had double doubles against Arkansas. Saw him beat up on Ohio State just the other day. Earlier in the season against Missouri, he had a big game. So he does not back down from the upper tier competition. And these Oral guys play with a chip on their shoulder. They're on even playing field with everyone. After the game, they said they don't care what the seed says next to your team. Everybody's on even playing field, and they're going to beat you. So I think we might see our Oral boys hit the Sweet 16 here. I don't have any faith in mid-major Mike. Sorry for the Florida fans, but I think we're going to see Oral Roberts making a Cinderella run here. So O'Banner, I'm all over. 30-11 last game. The Gators, here's where he'll do good. The Gators are a terrible defensive rebounding team. So O'Banner, 8.3% offensive rebounding rate. So expect him to have a lot of putbacks. Combined rate 33%, usage rate and shot rate over 26%. He's drawing 5 fouls per 40. So and people were worried last game about him fouling. His season-long rates, he's not been a fouler. It was just in the Summit tournament where he had picked up this foul issue. You saw last game against Ohio State. He had 3, but he didn't pick them up, real close together. It was spread out. So I'm not worried about that with him, especially against this Florida team. He's a pretty damn lethal 3-point shooter, 45%. So the Gators bigs, if I don't know if Payne's going to play, but if Jitaba or Castleton end up having to guard him, he can bring him out to that 3-point line and bury triple after triple in their face. So he's a viable all format play, core play all the way. I'm all over him. Now this is where things will probably split because I think a lot of people will be on O'Banner, but Max Asmus, who was chalk last slate, now he's back where he should be at 9.2. Probably going to see a lot of people jump off. His price skyrocketed as it should. But I mean, it's March, it's do or die. Do you really think, fading the top scorer in Division I basketball is going to be a winning move? Probably not. Because if Oral Roberts is going to go to the next round, like I think they will, it'll be on the back of Asmus. Obviously O'Banner will have a big game, but Asmus, if it comes down to the final shot or free throws, Asmus is going to be the guy. He's got great numbers against Tier 1 comp also, just like O'Banner. So that mini stack is the play. He's playing 95.3% of the minutes for his team. That's the 4th highest in the country. Usage rate over 28%. His shot rate's 30%. He has a 21.2% assist rate. He's drawing 5 fouls per 40. 43% shooter from long range on 209 attempts. So there's just too much to like about Asmus here. And I know people are already, and in the chat, how are we going to run Obenar and Asmus together? It's just so much salary. There's enough value to make it work. You could even go with the triple Oral stack today again with Carlos Jurgens. He's a little more expensive now at 5.1. He's the third wheel for this team, but he's just so active because everybody is so hyper-focused on trying to stop O'Banner and Asmus that Jurgens kind of slides in there, gets rebounds, steals, assists. He can hit a 3 if he needs to. He's putting up a lot of points in a quiet manner. He has 20-plus fantasy points in 4 straight games, so he is still playable at the 5.1 price tag. And then you have some cheaper options for GPP. Deshang Weaver at 3.9. He's very risky. He has taken 72 3-pointers this season, shooting 36%. So he's there if you need a value for a cheaper way to get access to this game. And then Kareem Thompson at 5.1. He's a 41% 3-point shooter on 82 attempts. So I definitely like any of the Oral starters, but obviously Jurgens, Asmus, and O'Banner are the 3 that I like best. Now here is where I'm going to be different from the industry, and I might be different than you, and that's fine. Florida, obviously they're going to score points today. That Oral defense is very, very bad. We just saw Liddell crush them. It would make sense for Colin Castleton to crush them. My question is, are we going to see Castleton play, the 38-plus minutes? He played, 41 because of overtime last time, so he played on the entire game, basically, except for, 4 minutes. Are we going to see that again, or is Mid-Major Mike going to do what Mid-Major Mike does and randomly pull Castleton and sit him for long stretches? Because if he's going to play, the whole game, 38, 40 minutes, 6.8 is a steal of a price. And he should have a massive game after what he just did to the Hokies. So I am acknowledging that he is a great play if he gets the minutes. But we've been here before with Castleton in good spots, played him, and then suddenly he inexplicably didn't start, or he inexplicably got yanked 2 minutes in, and then he was playing only 20 minutes. So that would be my concern with Castleton. The leverage from fading a 40% or higher owned Castleton is far higher than, and your opportunity to make money would be higher fading him than just falling in line and playing him. I still think 8 games is enough to escape a 40 from Castleton and still win today. If he puts up 60 or something, then yeah, but I mean, it's very unlikely that happens. And with the way Oban or Anais misdraw fouls, you could just see Castleton pick up 2 quick ones anyways. So for me, I'm not on the Castleton train. It's hurt me far too much. I guess we'll have to get official word. If Omar Payne is ruled out again because of his actions in the SEC tournament, then that will force Castleton into big minutes. Then maybe I'll relent and be a little more, optimistic about his prospects. I do like Trey Mann better. Mann versus A. Smith is going to be a hell of a matchup. I have a lineup that I really like, but I only have 7-7 left. So I wish that Mann was 7-7 instead of, Javion Hamlin, who we'll talk about in a second. But he's not. So the 8K may be a little tough. But if you're able to figure out a way to pair Trey Mann up in your Oral Roberts stack, that's a huge power move because Mann's going to score 40 today. You're a big man guy. You have been all season. He's going to go toe-to-toe with Max. It's going to be a hell of a matchup to watch. I'm very excited for that. Mann scored 20 real points in 4 of his last 5 games, so not fantasy points, but points. So we can expect him to be the focal point of this offense. 25% usage rate, 26% shot rate. His assist rate's over 22%. He's a 40% shooter on 104 threes. So Mann had in the SEC tourney, he was having a bad first half. He was against the Vols, and then all of a sudden he scored and had 30 real points against them. So even if Mann starts slow, he's typically going to get there one way or another. I just wish he was a little cheaper. Tyree Appleby is a game time decision, so we'll have to monitor that situation. He's only 5'7". If he was to start and play normal at 5'7", he would actually be the play over Mann for me because I think he would hit 5x at that price in this particular matchup. Just not sure what his status is going to be just yet. If he's ruled out, expect Scotty Lewis to become a pretty chalky play. I may use Scotty Lewis even if Appleby plays. I'm sort of ready to go to Lewis. And maybe it doesn't make sense if I'm not playing Castleton, why the hell would I ever try Lewis? But there is a 2K differential there for me to be wrong about it and still survive. He did play big minutes in the last game. So if Appleby was out or limited, we could see 30 plus from Lewis yet again. I know it's been an underwhelming season for him, but a matchup against one of the worst defenses left in the tournament is a good remedy for that. So I am ready to trust Scotty Lewis again, but I guess it's not trusting him. It's trusting Coach Mike White, as I affectionately call him, mid-major Mike. So there's a lot to like here for Florida and obviously Oral Roberts. I'm stacking Oral Roberts because I think it's safe. I think it gives me a high floor. I think this game is going to be played in the 90s potentially. It's just a matter of running it back with which Florida guys. So how are you prioritizing which Florida guys based off the news? Appleby and Omar Payne. If those guys are both out or if they're both playing, what's the two ways you're going to do it?
Trey Mann is my play of the day. I like Trey Mann is my top play of everybody today. So he's in my. I can't wait to watch the matchup with him. With him and Asmus, I think it's gonna be a great matchup. I don't know. I'm just big on ice. He's gonna. I see a big game now. If Appleby plays, I think you need him in your lineup at 5'7". I think you didn't. My God, I'm gonna end up with Mann, Castleton, and Appleby. I'm playing Castleton. I'm probably gonna. I know it is a chance, but after watching what he did, man, I know. It's like a broken record. We've been talking about this shit for 3 months with Castleton. We could just go back and play one of our on demand plays, and we could probably have the same discussion. Castleton coming off a big game, and we're all hyped up on him, and he plays 15 minutes or something, 20 minutes. But I don't know. I'm stupid, I guess. But the way he controlled the paint on both ends against Virginia Tech, he's so damn big. I don't know. I gotta play. I'm playing Castleton, man, and I'm playing Scotty Lewis. If Appleby is out, then I end up with 3 Florida guys, which I may regret. And then to me, I think those Oral Roberts guys are expensive. I think Obenar is the better play just because of the price. But I don't know. There's so much to like here. Can you play 5 guys in this game? It sounds like you may be playing 4.
Depends on if I can fit man, because
Sure.
I'm not
Yeah,
fading.
you
I'm
can be.
not fading Oban or and Ace Miss. I'm
You're
not
not going to be
fading
able
them.
to fit
I
man in
watch.
with those 2 guys. So you're right.
Yeah, unless I fade McCuller, who right now I have McCuller. If I fade him and go cheaper, then I can, but I haven't decided yet. But I've just watched too many tournaments, played too much DFS with players of Ace Smith caliber, fading them. We faded Preston yesterday. Stupidly, he went off. I'm not going to fade Ace Smith, and I'm happy he's priced so high because it should keep his ownership down. But I'm
Oh,
expecting a
you're going
40
to see
plus
ownership's
from
going to be
him.
down.
Yeah.
There's no doubt,
So
and he's not getting crazy projections. You're going to get him low. You're not low owned, but that could be the play of the day. I gotta go. I still gotta go with these guys. I just like Fleur too much, and maybe maybe it could be a fault here too. But I'm not saying you're wrong at all.
oh yeah, definitely.
I'm just on Trey Man a lot, and I just think that's a big price difference between Man and Asmus. But if I play both of them, I can't play Openar. So I don't know. But they're all great plays. Those 3 to me, they're the top 3 plays, but you can't play all 3 of them. So
Yeah,
you gotta make a
just
stance. This is the game in
your.
Slate though.
Yeah, absolutely. And it depends on your build. If you don't want to have a few extra value guys, then yeah, you can't play all 3. If you're okay with a Marquez McBride or, one of these Illinois values or we're going to talk about here in a second, Oklahoma State and stuff, yeah, then it's totally fine to play 3. But you just
That's
have
true.
to
You got
decide who you
McBride.
think. If you think Florida's going to win and be a close game, then yeah, you should probably stack up Florida. Just realize there's risk involved. But if Payne and Appleby are out, then he has no choice but to play Castleton big minutes and Scotty Lewis big minutes. So right now I'm leaning towards playing Scotty Lewis. I have 3 from that game, but I am trying to find a way to get man in as well. I just have to decide if it's worth going to man or just keeping McCuller. So that's my decision of the day.
At 7 o'clock, my lineup may totally be different than what it was at noon. With
Definitely, yeah,
Drew
based off
and
of
Appleby
that
and all
news,
this.
yeah.
Yep. All right.
So there you guys go. We have, I'm on the Oral Roberts side, Pete's on the Florida side, but we both agree game stack is certainly in play here.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they priced everybody up. Otherwise, it would be stupid and everybody would have it. So next game, North Texas versus Villanova. We saw North Texas handle Purdue pretty well. I think they do have an opportunity to beat Villanova here. Ken Palm has a 67-61 for Villanova. Both teams in the mid to lower 300s in tempo rankings. So you're not going to get teams that like to run very much. North Texas plus 6.5. That point line has upside for sure if you can still get it. North Texas defense has been stout all season long when North Texas has been on the slate. We really haven't targeted against them too much because they do key in on the other team's best players and slow them down. And they have the bodies in Simmons and Bell, to possibly slow down Samuels on the wing and JRE down low to the point where I think they're just GPP plays at best. Now, for cash way or main lineup, I do like Mardez McBride quite a bit at 4.6. He scored 20 plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games. He's played 30 plus minutes in 5 straight. Part of that reason is that Rubik Jones went down with an injury, so McBride absorbed all those minutes and has just been playing, the entire game basically. He's a 41% shooter on 104 3-point attempts. And I just feel like the upside's not going to be massive, but I think he'll coast in with that 4x, 4.5x, and that'll be a strong, points to have in your lineup. That's not going to hurt you. So I like McBride there. He gives us an opportunity to fit some of these, higher price guys. Him and Scotty Lewis, definitely.
Did we just lose Walt? All right. All right. So we're talking North Texas and Villanova. My thing is Javion Hamlet. I mean, Walt won by McBride. I think McBride is probably one of the top values on the board. So he's going to get 30 to 40 minutes.
Pretend that didn't happen.
Right.
I'm back.
All right. So I'm just talking about Hamlet quick, and I think Hamlet is not getting projected as. I would be running Hamlet in my main lineup if he's a couple $100 cheaper, because I see this team. I see this North Texas team as a team that can beat Villanova, like you just said. They're actually the 3rd oldest team in the tournament. Hamlet is the unchallenged leader of that lineup. If they're going to do well, it's going to be off of Hamlet. I don't get me wrong. I think McBride is a great value play, and he may find his way in my main lineup. I just think Hamlet is not getting the praise they should be getting. Here's a dude that, I mean, he's averaging 18.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 7 assists in the conference tournament. I just love him. And I think he should be projected higher than he is. But out of coming out of this game, I think McBride's a great call, and he may be able to get us who we want. The Mans and the Asmuses and the Kevin Obenars and those people like that.
Yep. Yeah, definitely McBride. James Reese at 5'5". I think that's when I cut out. But James Reese is 5'5" is a good price. He's in play. Hamlet, as you mentioned, at only 7'7". That's what I have left for my last spot. So I'm looking at Hamlet there. I would much rather have Man.
Yeah, I could see him though. I could see him. He's gonna have a good game.
Yeah. Yeah, Nova is susceptible here for sure. And then Thomas Bell at 6'2", he's been playing really well too. He has great rates. 20% shot rate, but 8% offensive rebounding rate, 5% block rate. Peripheral stats are great, so it's a little high, but I think he's in play too. And then Villanova side, I'm probably not even using any of them. 9K for JRE, although he's a slate breaker. At 8'8", he could definitely still put up 50. I'm just not prioritizing him. Jermaine Samuel, 7'2", same type of deal. I guess Justin Moore at 5'9" will probably be somewhat industry chalk. He did score 28 last game as chalk. I kind of will continue fading him, but I know he's probably going to be, I guess, somewhat high on people's list at this price, right?
Definitely. And my whole question, JRE's in play. He's the type of guy that's going to win some of the freaking GDP. Where I'll focus somewhere else.
Probably.
My whole question is Justin Moore. What are you doing with Justin Moore at that 5'9" price? Because he's going to catch ownership. It is kind of damn cheap from him. I don't think I don't get Justin Moore right, and I didn't play him Friday, and I probably should have. But I
think our analysis last game was correct, even though he did play well. He's been in nice spots where he kind of just messed. He busted, and then coming off that injury, we weren't sure how much it was going to be. Causing him trouble. He didn't look injured at all. I mean, he went from being out for part of the tournament to playing like no issues whatsoever.
40 minutes. So he played almost 40 minutes.
I don't know what they shot him full of, but yeah, he's fine. So, but here's the problem now. His price is still nice, but like I said, that North Texas D, there was like a mid-season CUSA Friday slate we did a show on, and you had mentioned, North Texas defense being so good, and there was I think it might have been even Marshall, and we were talking about Marshall plays, and they got shut down. So I ever since you pointed that out, I've just been very leery about targeting against North Texas. So I'm going to be fading more myself. He's another play for me that's kind of like Castleton. If he's going to be big chalk, there's some variance there. I think I can put myself in a position to take down some tournaments fading. So that I'll be fading him. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But I'm going elsewhere with my lineup. I'm not going to be fading Oral Roberts. So I can't afford a guy like Moore. But it's fine, definitely.
This North Texas team, they led for 40 or 45 minutes against Purdue. I mean, this is a good team. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize how good they are and how good of a defense they are. So Moore's in play though. I mean, at 5'9", you got to say he's in play. I just can't dismiss him, but I'm not in love with him.
Yeah. All right. Next game here and last on the slate: Oregon State versus Oklahoma State. Ken Palm has a 73.68 for Oklahoma State. Their 33rd tempo ranking. Oregon State 313. Came away pretty impressed with Oklahoma State because they didn't have a great game against Liberty, but they just gutted it out. They survive in advance, as cheesy as it sounds to say, and they didn't allow Liberty to cover, which cost my parlay. But I definitely am looking at Oklahoma State differently now because, their struggles from, Caleb Boone and Cade. Obviously, Anderson stepped up again. Moncrief had a nice 10-9 game. So they've got the pieces here. I do not think I'll be using anyone in Oklahoma State because this Oregon State's team's hot and their defense is better than people realize. One player I do like is Caleb Boone at 5'9". He's borderline cash for me. I think that if he can stay out of foul trouble early on, he should be able to put up a big, 30-plus game. Usage rate's over 21% right now, combined rate of 29%, block rate over 8%. He's got a huge amount of upside. Minutes were down last game, early foul trouble. So he is borderline cash, probably better suited for GBP, but he's definitely in play. I really like, and I always do, but Warith Alatishe at 6'9", priced down a little bit lower. I think he's just a big star. this matchup against the Cowboys is good for him. They struggle on the defensive glass. They drive a lot, so their shots, they get a high number of shots at the rim rejected, which is kind of Alatish's specialty. He does have the 27th best offensive rebounding rate at 14.4%. His defensive rebounding rate's over 22%. He has a block rate nearing 7% and a steal rate of almost 3%. So he's not going to be owned at all. I'm very confident in this as kind of one of those lower owned hammer plays with lots of upside. So I'm on the Alatishe train if I can fit him. And then Ethan Thompson at 7 too. This is another guy. It's tournament time. Thompson's a star guard. That's the price that's way too low for a guy with a 27% usage rate, 26% shot rate, 26% assist rate. He scored 30 plus in 3 of his last 4 games. So there's definitely some pieces here. What's your plan for the hammer game?
Ethan Thompson's my dude, and I'm probably going to end up playing him. I think he's probably like him and Alatishe are even, and yeah, there's $300 difference, but I just see this Thompson is heating up and showing us the real Ethan Thompson in the last couple weeks. That 28% usage rate, I love. Ethan Thompson all the way, and don't sleep on Reichel either, or Zach Reichel. I love Zach Reichel. And what's Reichel's price? 4 or 5. You're going to get 30, as long as we can get 30 minutes out of him. I just like the way he plays. So he's one of those guys too. If you need value, I have no problem putting Reichel on my main lineup at that 4 or 5 price. But I'm on Ethan Thompson today. I've said many times how much I like Avery Anderson. I think Avery Anderson is going to be. He steps up big every time Cade struggles, and I don't know. Cade, to me, Cade just doesn't look right. Is it mental? It's the big stage or what? But if Cade has a little bit more jitters again today, this could be another like Avery Anderson game steppers. I love more and more I watch Avery Anderson. I think he's a lot better and talented than people think. So, but I'm all over Ethan Anderson. I'm Ethan Thompson in this game. They're going to keep this. He's going to keep another game going for Oregon State, and this whole family's been involved with Oregon State for years.
Yeah,
I think they've got somebody from this game now.
Yeah, they're staying hot. They came in as a team hot like Georgetown, Texas, and they're the only ones left as of now. And I think that they have an opportunity here, yes, to make a surprising Sweet 16 run. And I believe as well that you should have a piece of the Oregon State side for sure. Whether that's Alatishe, Thompson, Reichel's good value, like you said. He's kind of mid-range value for me, but he's cheap enough to where, yeah, you can do some things with his salary. He is a 35% three-point shooter. He's attempted 174 threes, which is a ton. So that volume is there. GPP sneaky side, maybe Jared Lucas, 5'9", 20-plus fantasy points, 5 of his last 6. When he's on, he's really on. When they need a bucket, they go to him. He's a 40% shooter. He's attempted 174 triples. Shot rate's 24%. So yeah, I'm probably higher than most on the Oregon State side for DFS purposes today.
And
all right.
The only thing that I would go Thompson over Alatishe is the minutes. If I know, Ethan's going to play close to 40 minutes, the only thing that I would, because I think Alatishe is just as good and just as good as a call. Yeah,
absolutely. And Roman Silva had a big game for Oregon State. So the bigs, he kind of rides the hot hand of the bigs at times between Silva and Rodriguez and Della. So yeah, they're kind of have a rotating bigs there, which definitely the minutes side goes to Ethan Thompson for sure. So let's talk about some prize picks. They have added some since I posted last night. I'm probably going to be changing my featured ones in the article right now. It's Jared Butler over 16.5 single points, Demetric Trice over 24 fantasy points. But the board was light. Now they've added a couple others. Marcus Sasser, 20.8 fantasy points. I think he's moving into featured territory for me. I like the over there. Jacob Young's 23.9. I like the over on him as well. So those are two that are now kind of up to the top of the featured list for me on Prize Picks plays. Trice is still 24, which I think is too low. Single stat, I have a few others. I'll pull this up while you're having a chance to look at it.
Sasser's low as long as Giroux's out at 20. It's like 20, whatever, 20.5 or something.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Sasser and Jacob Young, both those two are moving into over for me. Single points, if you think Hamlet's going to have a big game at 17. That's pretty nice. I do think the Ethan Thompson 15.5 single points. I think the over for that is in play as well. And then James Reese over 11 points. So there's a bunch here that are, if you're looking to run like a flex 5 pick, that I like. So after this is done, double check the article. I'll update that for the latest price picks, and in the price picks room, I will let you guys know there. Is there any others that are kind of sticking out to you?
No, but there's a lot of single stat plays here to go through. They put a bunch of them up here. So
and they've added assists and rebounds too. The rebounds and assists were pretty stout yesterday. Like there wasn't a lot of upside with what they did. They do have a few that are worth looking at, like Taz Sherman, 0.5 assist. He's not a big assist guy, but if you think he can dime at least one, I mean, the over on that's pretty solid. Ethan Thompson, 4 assists. Well, McClung would be lucky to if he passed the ball twice, I'd be shocked.
That's true. That's true.
Rebounds wise, the Jared Butler 3.5 rebounds. I know Wisconsin's tough on the glass, but you know he's certainly in play there. So, and then if you think Alatishe is going to be a big time, producer today, play 25, 30 minutes, 8.5 rebounds, I think he could hit the over on that. So there's a few here that I like. Like I said, I will put the featured plays into the article so you guys know who to play and what to do there. I like that they've added that rebound and assist. That's something they didn't do in the past. So it gives us just another element to make some money. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. We still have, about an hour to lock, so you guys got plenty of time. Make sure if you're watching this live that you hit that like button. I see there's about 42 of you watching. I got 15 likes on my screen, so if you guys could all hit that like button for us, it helps people find the show. Also, we're still running that promo for just a little bit longer, 50% off, so $25 gets you access to NHL, MLB, college sports, esports, Euro League, everything you possibly need. Price picks, articles, cheat sheets, into the premium Discord where we update starting lineups, injury news, all kinds of stuff. Pete, any?
Yeah, don't forget your highlight price picks.
No pressure. Yeah.
Gotcha. Any final words before we head
out here? This is gonna be a good slate, and it's to me. You need to be available and ready at around 7 o'clock because I think that's when the slate's gonna change. With we had a couple of injury news with the Florida guys, Houston guys. So get a nice holder in, and it could be a good day today. 8-game slates are up. This is my wheelhorse.
Yeah, and then also with the likes, I see those are going up, so thank you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications so anytime we do these shows, because we're going to be doing them throughout the week for the tournament, you don't want to miss those. So turn those notifications on, subscribe, and then you'll get the alerts to your phone or your computer. That way you don't miss any of the shows, and it helps us get our channel to the top. So when people search for Cbb or DFS, we can be seen. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. Best of luck to you today, Pete. Get on the right side of things. Yesterday, that Aiken game, that bust, that really hurt. But we still made some money. The first day was really good. Another 8-game slate today, 8-game slate tomorrow. NIT slate next week as well on Thursday with more games coming. So we still have opportunities to make that money. Thanks to everybody who watched live and on demand. Keep supporting us, and we'll keep making you money. See ya.
Goodbye. Good luck, guys.
Cover batches, you know, and I'll be lit all day, all night, you know, that's how we roll.
Fresh dressed, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. Fresh dressed, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars.
German whips, fancy cars, they play the game, but they know who the champions are. Every time we pull up, it's like a damn bazaar. They scream our name, try to get us on the camera. Flashing lights, so I ain't the flashy type. I just push a big whips with the fastest pipe. Can't match his price. I don't nigga catch for life, but I still never pay the full package price and fuck the laws. They can suck these balls. I'll be riding the fly shit till I rust the walls. Yeah, so pull up, nigga. What? Please stay, get pulled up in the trunk. Yeah. And my bass go bump. The thing I pack at my waist make your face go slump. Put me on the track, watch your place go dumb. D-O-R-O-N-T on the place I'm from. Yes.
Fresh dressed, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. Fresh dressed, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like like El Joe. I got a sick, thick flow, silk shirts and no. I never rock flip-flops with an open toe. Not in a red Lambo, but the Benz is fine. A leather black cash land, only friends and wine. I stand about 5'9" with the balls of Brando. Cooler than all liquor in the palms of Lando. Never draw first blood, but I end like Rambo. With a thick lit smoke, I'm a mic commando. Make a grand go far in the town casino. With a thick red bone, sipping rounds of vino. What I see, no man with a social witness. Gotta do gas up, now we on my shit list. I'ma get this cash in the ass regardless. Hella do Scarface, but they face be scarless. On my A1 team, had a dream they lawless. Now I checkmate kings if they pawn they goddess. Fresh dressed, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like El DeBarge. Fresh dressed, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like El DeBarge. We keep it rockin', these chicks be flocking my coupe. We keep it rockin', fresh eggs outside of my stoop. We keep it rockin', they love to give us some play. We keep it rockin', homeboy, we got 'em, we got 'em, we got 'em. See me in the red Porsche, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up. See me in the V-Dub, back up.